Well, you better migrate up.
Okay, good.
Come in this part?
Come on down. How you been?
I'm good. Oh, I didn't even recognize who you was. How you doing?
Good
You
to
see
see
him?
you. Uh-huh.
So do we want to start moving over to the other job, please?
Oh, okay.
They're
Yeah.
great.
Wonderful.
Love. Except that they have so much hair.
I know. I want to deal with one shedder and it's me.
No, but you beat me to it.
No, that's nice. Dan and Molly made a contribution to hospice.
Yeah.
They were gonna send flowers and they decided to do this. They were gonna send hospice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom and dad's ashes were both in there. But they're running right now.
So sweet.
Put the phone and I'd tell them how to, teach them how to do things and I'd say, so the next time I come, there's gonna be a test. And he would look at me like, you think you're the only one that can do that?
Right.
That's what he's. Who do you think I learned that from?
Yeah, really.
I used to tutor my friends on math.
All the neighborhood kids would come to our house. They just loved being in our house. They would come for Halloween and have my mom
Make them up.
make them all up, and they make up their makeup and their costumes and everything.
That's nice.
They like to be at our house.
They definitely wanted to eat at our house.
Yeah, I would have too. I would have been over there eating too.
And I know you can't. Oh.
That's nice.
Yes, from Cliff and Laura.
Wait and see.
Here comes Mama Long.
Here, you have one.
Okay.
Okay. That's it, we're ready.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Still bring handball? Okay.
Yes, I know. I know.
Thank you all for coming to tonight's service. I know the family truly does appreciate it. That being said, before I turn things over to Brian Bennett here, I do ask that if you are former or active duty during playing at taps, if you want to place your hand over your heart or salute the flag, you absolutely may do so. With that being said, I'm going to turn everything over to military honors. Thank you.
So you put your hand over your heart. You can stand. Come on, stand.
especially since he has his air force. Please accept this one as a symbol of appreciation for your love of time and faithful service. Thank you.
Isn't that a powerful way to start a service? I just absolutely love when the military comes. I want to thank those gentlemen, and obviously it's our way of recognizing what Dale did for our country, and for any of you that might have served in any way. I think one of the worst things we do as a country is we don't say thank you enough to the people that have served us, whether it be in the military or police or first responders. And so on behalf of all of us, thank you. And as Max said, thank you for being here tonight. It is an absolute honor for me to be able to be here with you. My name is Brian. I'm a celebrant for the route song team. I have a normal day job like most of you, but I do this for the route songs really for a couple of reasons. If you live in the Dayton area, I promise you no one cares for taking care of families as much as this team does. So if you have a question or a need while you're here, please don't hesitate to ask. And on a personal level, I do this because a few years ago I lost my mom to cancer, and doing what you're doing, coming together and seeing some old pictures and speaking and hugging some old friends, it's such an important part of the healing process. So thank you all for being here to recognize that. I got to speak quite a bit to Debbie leading up to this. I got to meet Carol and talk to her for a few minutes, and they both pretty much said the same thing about their dad. And I'd say over the last 10 years or so, we kind of moved away from calling what we're doing here tonight a funeral, and you're hearing more and more the phrase life celebration. And I love that switch, because as hard as it is to say goodbye to someone, there is a lot to celebrate over his 9.5 decades on this planet. I mean, isn't that hard to wrap your head around? I just can't imagine. I don't think there'll ever be a 100-year period that those people will ever see as much change as that generation. Yeah. I mean, there will always be change, but think of what changed during his lifetime. Technology, air travel, all of it, the way we treat people. It's just not the same. And that generation is called the greatest generation. And I don't even think that's an ounce of exaggeration. There was a grit and a determination and a dignity and a sense of patriotism in that generation that simply does not exist at that level anymore. And so it is an honor to be able to be here. Someone very wise once said, it's okay to miss them. It's okay to say his name often. It's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to breathe deeply. It's okay to smile when you think of him. It's going to be okay to have days when you can function, and it's going to be okay when you have days when you can't. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be thankful. It's okay to remember. It's okay to hope. It's okay to be honest about how you're feeling. And the biggest thing is, especially when you have a community that supports you, is the knowledge of knowing it's going to be okay. And what I love about that reading is it acknowledges the fact that grief is very personal. It hits people differently. It affects us differently. And the best thing you can do as a family and friends is give each other space to grieve however you need to grieve. When I lost my mom, I have 2 younger brothers, and it hit all 3 of us very differently. And again, the best thing you can do is give each other the space to remember and honor the way that you do that. I'm a big reader. One of my favorite authors is a guy named Frederick Bachman. And I was reading one of his books the other night, and this paragraph kind of popped off the page. So I got up and I typed it out because I thought it was so appropriate. He said, over time, I've realized that deep down, almost everyone asks themselves the same sort of questions about life, especially as we get a little older. We start to ask our questions like, am I good? Have I made anyone proud? Have I been useful to society? Was I good at my job? Am I considered generous and considerate? Does anyone want me to be their friend? Have I been a good parent? Am I a good person? And ultimately, we ask ourselves the question, does my life even matter? And you guys showing up today and honoring Dale the way you are makes a loud statement that his life mattered, didn't it? And it sounds to me like he could go down that list and say yes, 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 and yes to all of those questions. I'm a big believer in something that I call holy collisions. And what I mean by that is if you think back over the course of your life, sometimes we're lucky enough to run into the exact right person at the exact right time of our lives for the exact right reason that we were supposed to run into that person. That's what I call a holy collision. You might be sitting next to one of your holy collisions right now. And you think back to that first moment you met. Who talked to who first? And what was it you saw in each other to push through all the layers of friendship and acquaintances to become the significant relationship that it is today? And if you think about it, we can set aside all of our accomplishments, all the stuff that we've ever owned, and what life really boils down to are those holy collision, significant relationships in our lives. And whenever I have the privilege to do a service like this, we don't know each other, but I consider this group sitting in this chapel on this evening, we're our own version of a holy collision. You cannot explain why this group of human beings would ever be at the same place at the same time. And yet here we are. And let's be honest, when we parked our cars here a few minutes ago, every one of us have things we're worried about. We have things we're trying to decide. There might be something going on in your life that nobody else in this room is even aware of. And all those things are going to be waiting for us when we go back to our cars here in a little bit. So my hope and my prayer is that by the time we get back in our cars and go back to our own lives, we're going to have a little bit deeper appreciation and maybe walk out of here with a little bit of Dale's spirit. And I think that's entirely possible. So if you're comfortable joining me, I'd like to invite you, if you would, to join me in a word of prayer. Okay? Let's pray. God, I thank you for this holy collision of family, friends who have come together. Dale's life represents a story. And in this room are sitting the pages and chapters of his story. So God, I pray that as we gather for the next few moments to pay attention to his story, that we might hear something or feel something or think something that we can take out of this room. And that's truly the way that we can celebrate a life very well lived. So I thank you for allowing us to come together. I pray that you'll bring comfort, not only today, but in the days and weeks and months ahead. In your name we pray these things. Amen. I understand that one of his main collisions in his 95 years of life was a young lady named Norma Jean. And I got to hear one of the stories I love to hear is I was asked how they meet. And it's always interesting. When I get to talk to a daughter, they always know the story. If I'm talking to a son, they never know the story. So luckily, this story I heard, she passed away in 2020 from cancer after 67 years of marriage. That's unbelievable to me. They both worked at NCR and back in the day, and he was her supervisor. And I guess one of her friends that she worked with invited her to come over for dinner one evening. And when she got there, Dale was one of the guests. That's how they met. And I don't know what happened over that little dinner, but this was way back before dating apps and that kind of thing. But Norma Jean swiped right, and they made a date. They set up a date that night. And I love this part of the story. They made a date. They went out on the date, but he dropped her off like at 7:30. And she got suspicious, and she figured out it's because he had another date that night that he had already set up. And I think she called him on it. Is that okay? She called him on it. And on the way to the second date, he changed his mind, canceled the date, got a hold of her again, and their first official date was on Valentine's Day, and they were married in June. Isn't that a great story? So whatever happened, that holy collision that almost didn't. I think if he'd have gone on the second date, maybe that wouldn't happen. But their meeting changed your history. It led to the kids that they had, to the grandchildren they have. It changed history for this family. I think it's interesting. He was He was born on August 21st, today, 1920, and I understand he would have been 96 today. And I asked the girls, and they said he didn't want to make it to 96. He was done. He was ready to go. Said after losing Norma Jean, he just wasn't quite the same. And it's beautiful to know that they're together again. I believe that with every ounce of my being, that they are together again. I asked Debbie when we were talking, I said, just kind of paint a picture of Dale for me, because I didn't have the privilege of knowing him. And she said he was such a sweet man. Everybody loved him. She said he was a dog person. Not only did he love dogs, but the dogs loved him. And if you're a dog person, you know for sure dogs can sense a person with a good heart. So that says a lot about him. Carol was telling me that he was the kind of person that if there was a problem, he was going to find a way to fix it. And that's something about that generation. They were the most resourceful people, not for fun, it's because they had to be. That's how they had to survive through a lot of what they had to survive through. And probably also what turned him into, I understand he was known to be a jack of all trades, could kind of fix anything, dabbled in several different careers after the military. He did several different things, including he was a repairman for Sears, I understand, for 25 years. But the coolest story that I heard was the Dorothy Lane Market story about the turkey red wheat. And I may butcher the story, but I'm going to try to tell my version. I went on their site, and here in a moment, we're going to be able to do something that's very rare at a life celebration. We're going to be able to hear from Dale himself. So we're going to get that video ready. But the story is this. The seeds came here from Holland. He was able to preserve them and started a little patch in his backyard and was growing this very rare wheat. And met a friend who's also in the video at Dorothy Lane, and that led to a contract for Dorothy Lane, and that's how they provide some of the wheat bread that they have. And there are samples of it. If you didn't know this, there are some samples of it. We could probably line you up some Ziploc bags to take it home, because I already loaded mine up and it's already in my car. So I plan to have some for supper. So without anything else, we have found a segment of this video. And I'm going to get out of the way and pay attention to the TV, and we're going to get to hear a little of the story from Dale himself. Okay?
We had that time. And I said, well, I'd like to plant something just enough to have for all my kids. So we grew up beautiful, just like this field behind us. It can be grown here, and that gave me a certain certain idea that if it's grown up once and if it was good, why not try it again? Then Ed and I started thinking about that we should really raise wheat, and ended up planting the 2.5 acres that we had last year.
We really wanted to promote it for the month of October, which we had to ration it and only make so many loaves a day to make it last for the whole month. And with the results and the feedback from our customers, and how well the wheat performed,
Of course, that's developed into the field that we have behind us now.
I knew that Ed, whatever he set his mind to, that he could accomplish. I had full trust and faith that if he said it would work, even though I was still skeptical, I said, okay, let's give it a try.
Well, I learned that watch out what you try might work. And this is working.
I've always really enjoyed pushing the envelope, and like Ed, I like it when people tell me I can't do something. So I'm just really excited that we were able to figure it out. How would open your car door while submerged underwater? A fatal construction.
He's not in the commercial.
Let's hope not.
He might be. I don't know.
He's one of the kind.
Got a little more.
I grew up where there was dry land farming. Water was a problem, and Danny is so up on things and really has amazed me.
I'm Dan Jones, and I'm a farmer. I started when I was 5 years old helping on the farm. Dale was probably the mastermind of how to grow it, what to grow it, where to grow it, when to grow it, and I just do the work that I think I know how to do it. You never know what's going to happen, weather conditions, hail. We're still learning what this wheat does and how it adapts to Ohio weather.
It's very tall, but they're like dancers. You model over it.
Rain, wind, hail, almost anything will bend it over. But unlike normal wheat, this is so tall it doesn't go to the ground. And you can still get under it harvested. And for some reason, it stands back up after one of those things.
Whereas a conventional wheat berry, really in all honesty, tastes kind of bland. If you taste one of these little wheat berries behind me, I just tasted one a few moments ago, it really comes through, but to the bread, it's even more magnified with that sweet nutty flavor.
It's glorious, the way that it looks in the field, the way that it blows in the wind, and it harkens you back to old America, you know, when America was in its infancy, and that amber waves of grain, and it's very moving, and the flavors are amazing. Just eating the berries out here today, I'm excited for the bread because it just tastes so good.
Berries is an amazing bread flour. When you think about it being going back to the biblical times, and that wheat's been transported all over the world, and it's just so gorgeous. And to see that big a field just sort of reminds me of what I grew up with all the time.
But once it's harvested, it needs to be taken to a mill.
You can't just take it to the elevator like you can a normal wheat. You gotta find a market for it. You gotta find somebody that wants to mill it, and somebody wants to use it to bake.
Here it is, success, gotta be harvested, and then the real work comes, making this, we call it loaf of bread.
Isn't that awesome? I just love that. So I probably watched that video 5 times myself. I just loved it. It just shows so much of his character, his personality, and you know, Debbie told me, you know, when we lost Mom, that was hard, but we still had a little bit of her because Dad's. But now he's gone. It's a big loss to go through 2 losses like that in a relatively short amount of time. But she said the beautiful thing about it is he got to go into sleep and without any pain. And because the rest of us ask for anything else. You know, the hard thing about living until you're 95 years old is you have to say goodbye a lot of times. And over the course of his life, he had to say goodbye a lot of times. But my belief, as I already said, is that we talked a little bit about what he and Norma Jean believed in. They were believers. They were believers that there is a second chapter after this one. And my belief is when he opened his eyes, he got to see his girl again. He got to see so many other people that he had to say goodbye to on this side. And while that still feels like a loss on this side, I hope that there's some comfort knowing that if you share that belief on any level, you can simply say tonight, you don't have to say goodbye. You can simply say, Dad, friend, Grandpa, we'll see you later, and mean it. I want to close my time with a reading because, as I said earlier, we're going to go get in our cars. We still have the privilege to have time left. We all have people that are watching how we do life and the values we have and what we believe in. And that's what this reading shares. It says, if I were to die today, would I be proud of the life that I've lived? If I were to die tomorrow, was I happy? Would I be proud of the person that I've become? Was there love in my life? Have I given enough love? Did I show those I love the real me? Have I lived the life that I wanted to live? Could I have done things differently or better? Will anyone miss me? Will anyone on earth be better because I was there? Because the truth is, not one of us sitting in this chapel tonight knows for sure we're going to wake up tomorrow. We did not walk into here with that guarantee. So if you don't like who you've been up to this moment, make a change and make it today. If you have a broken relationship with someone that you really care about, mend it today. If you can give more love, give it now. If you can play more and work less, decide and commit to do that today. If you can do anything to improve the quality of your life, write down every change that you can make and make a commitment that you're going to start making those changes. Every phone call that you need to make, every apology you need to give, every hug, everything you need to say. Start living the life that you really want to live. Start feeling the way that you really want to feel when you're in the present, when you're living in the moment. So let's get excited about our life. Let's love our life while we're still living it, because our new life starts right now. And that truly is the way to celebrate someone's life. When you kind of take a reflection of our own life and you think, man, I'm going to do it better. I'm going to close, I'm going to use a prayer that Debbie gave me. It's a poem, actually. I'm going to use it as our closing prayer, okay? It says this: let this be a loving reminder that someone is missing today. Someone our hearts still hold on to as we travel along life's way. Someone who made life so special for all those who gather here. Someone who won't be forgotten, but cherished from year to year. And now, as we pause to remember, let us all fondly recall how dearly each one of us loved him, and oh, how he loved us all. Amen. Thank you for letting me be part of your holy collision tonight, and I'm going to turn it back over to Max, okay?
Thank you, Brian. I'm glad we can all escape from a sinking car. That's good too. Thank you so much for attending Dale's services tonight. I know it means the world to the family. I know we still do have a little bit of food over here, so stay, share stories, continue to support each other. Thank you so much for coming. Max? Yes.
Sharon Hall wanted to say a few words.
Did you want to say, we can still share it on?
Oh, no, it's okay, it's okay.
Okay.
Okay. You got one shot? No, I wouldn't get it, but I mean,